All right, let the party begin. We are going to talk about square roots today. So the square root of a number n, square root of n, is a number m, such that m squared equals n. I know that looks really crazy, so let's do a couple examples. The square root of 36 is 6, because 6 squared is 36. The square root of 9 is 3, because 3 squared is 9. And this symbol, it tells us to find the square root, but it's called the radical symbol. So if anyone ever refers to the radical symbol, we're talking about this. An important thing to keep in mind about square roots is that every positive number has two square roots, one positive and one negative. Because 6 squared is 36, negative 6 squared is also 36, because negative 6 times negative 6 is positive 36. So for every positive number, if we take the square root, there's a positive answer and a negative answer. How you'll know what the question is asking for? If there's nothing, just a radical symbol with a number, we're talking about the positive square root. So the square root of 100 is 10. 10 times 10 is 100. If I want the positive or negative square root of 100, it could be positive or negative 10. 10 times 10 is 100. Negative 10 times negative 10 is 100. If we put a negative sign out front, that means we want a negative sign for our answer. The only exception is 0. The square root of 0 is just 0. There's only one solution because there's no such thing as positive 0 or negative 0, just 0. All right, so a perfect square is a number that's the square of an integer. So some perfect squares are 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49. 1 is a perfect square because it's the square of an integer. 1 squared is 1. 2 squared is 4. 3 squared is 9. 4 squared is 16. So these are my perfect squares. We can use perfect squares to help us approximate square roots. So what I mean is, let's say I ask you, square root of 20, no calculator. Well, it's not going to be a whole number, it's not an integer, so I'm kind of going to have to guess. So let's think about it. The perfect square underneath 20 is 16. 4 times 4 is 16. The one above it is 25. So the square root of 16 would be 4. The square root of 20 would be 5. So I know my answer is going to be somewhere in between 4 and 5. Maybe a little bit closer to 4. Maybe about 4.4, because 16 is a little bit closer to 20 than 25 is. Let's try another one. Square root of 124. Let's see. 10 squared is 100. 11 squared is 121. So it looks like I'm going to start there. 12 squared is 144. So the square root of 144 is 12. So the square root of 124 is somewhere in between 11 and 12. And since it's pretty close to the square of 11, 121, it's probably much closer to 11 than it is to 12. Let's try one more. What's the approximate value of the square root of 51? Well, 49 is right below that. And the square root of 49 would be 7. So my next number is going to have to be 8. 8 squared would be 64. Square root of 64 is 8. 51 is a lot closer to 49. So the square root of 51 is in between 7 and 8, but it's a lot closer to 7.